Oh,
And,
good. Thank you. Thank you.
and I also put in an invitation, please download it if you can, an invitation for next week's deep dive with Ivory Sully.
Oh,
So
I can't wait. That's going to be fantastic. I can't wait. So just kind of going back to, health class 101 here, the function of our nervous system, our vision is sensory, and it gets input that is translated into the brain, and the brain gives an output that would be, a response, a flexing of a muscle, walking, laughing, sneezing. It all happens in the central processing unit of our body, the brain. And sadly, these days we're hearing more and more people struggling with brain cognition things. So we just thought we'd walk you through real quickly a few little tidbits on the brain. And I have some new information in here too, if you've seen this before. But for men, it's about less than 3 pounds, women closer to 2.5 pounds. That powerful little sensory processor is small and mighty. And the left side is where we have our logic skills, our analytical, even the words of songs is left-brained, if you've heard that term. That's the analytical people, left-brained, right? The right brain is that flowy, feel-good, creative, visualizing, listening. That's the right brain people. But all over that brain, we have different things happening. And oftentimes, when we start to notice that our brain is not working like maybe we wanted it to when we were younger, it's usually that frontal lobe that starts to show wear and tear. The dementia starts in that place. And that part is also working on movement and speech and smell. Then we get into the green section here. That's the temporal lobe. That's where we've got memory and learning, and then hearing is in there. And there's all different things happening up there in that brain. So I thought this would be interesting because we hear people all the time, and sadly, so many people don't even know they have a brain tumor until they're stage 3 or 4. So I thought, why don't we start educating people? But signs of brain tumors can start as simple as a headache, but don't go running to the doctor for an MRI if you have a headache. There's maybe other things, but seizures, speech problems, just overall brain fog, cognitive decline, hearing problems can be prevalent, mood swings, and ultimately vomiting. If you're dealing with any of these things, go get professional guidance. But there are a number of issues that originate in the brain, and I did not realize that autoimmune really is originating in the brain with multiple sclerosis, encephalitis, epilepsy, vasculitis, Hashimoto's. The autisms, the neurodegenerative diseases are beginning in the brain, of course, ADHD, but so many of these are quite similar. Dementia, that frontal lobe dementia, like I just mentioned, the vascular dementia, that's where we're not getting enough blood flow into the brain. And then the Alzheimer's disease, that's actually classified as diabetes type 3 these days. Infections can, in fact, impact our brain, meningitis, movement disorders like Parkinson's and tremors and Tourette syndrome. There are neuromuscular disorders, seizure disorders, of course, stroke and vascular disease. There's traumatic brain injury and trauma, which we'll get into here in a minute, and tumors. They can be both benign and malignant. So there's a lot of potential things to go wrong in that little critically important thing in our brain. So this is talking about brain injury, and we have an estimated 1.7 million people sustaining a TBI each year. And we have about 5.3 million Americans just living with them. And up until this company, I will tell you, there were very few things that really could help. And my very dear friend Joy, and Joy, this is probably a great place here for you if you'd like to unmute and just briefly tell them your story, high level. And I kept trying to share these with her, and she'll tell you I held her hostage. Not really, I was her wheels driving her around and what have you. But Joy, I'll let you take it away.
Hi, my name is Joy, and on New Year's Eve 2016, I slipped and fell on ice in my driveway and got a traumatic brain injury. And For over 5 years, I was not able to drive. I was not able to look at electronics bigger than my phone. I wasn't able to work. And I had done all kinds of other modalities. I'd gone to rehab and done vision therapy, neurooptometry, neurochiropractic, massage therapy. I'd gone as organic and chemical free as possible, changed my diet, supplements, was using supplements, essential oils, all kinds of things, trying to get my brain to heal. And had found a new rehab and had a lot of hope. And Tracey took me, and she did hold me hostage. She held me hostage in the car as we were driving from place to place, and she would play testimonials and she would play educational things on these patches, because I had gone as chemical free and as possible, and I knew how absorbable our skin was, and I wasn't going to be putting chemicals back in my body with these patches, and they also just look like a Band-Aid. And I was like, how is this going to help me when I tried so many other things that, you know, the medical system has told me is going to help me, and they haven't. And so anyway, it took her sending me educational videos, sending me testimonials, and also holding me hostage. And I'm so grateful that she didn't give up to me, and that she continued to share with me and everything. Because when I first started using the patches, it was March 8th, 2022. And my goal that year was that I would be able to drive my car to the edge of town to Safeway and get my own groceries. And I put a patch on, and I had a terrible sensory hangover, because I get terrible sensory hangovers and terrible sensory overwhelm with excess noise and light and sound and people and all kinds of things. And I put a patch on. My pain level was at a 7. I had brain fog. I had a terrible headache. My whole body hurt. Like I'd had a whole ton of alcohol and gone on a bender, but I had had no alcohol, just a lot of sensory things. And my pain level went from a 7 down to a 3 in 45 minutes. And I was like, oh my goodness, these patches work. And then I was able to go out to dinner with Tracey and her family that night. It was her son's birthday, and I didn't have any sensory overwhelm and sensory hangover. And I could go on errands with her the next day with no sensory overwhelm and sensory hangover. And a week and a half later, I was able to start driving little bits, and gradually built up to where I was able to, a month and a half later, drive all the way from the top part of Washington down to Oregon to see my daughter and grandboys and buy a car. And so I'm so grateful, because they gave me back full functionality. And I'm so grateful that Tracey's in my life and that she didn't give up on me. So for those skeptics out there, don't give up on them. They might just need you to keep, dripping on them, giving them information and everything. And then when the time is right, they'll have fantastic results. So anyway, that's my story. And thank you for coming and hanging out with us today. And I look forward to hearing the rest of what Tracey has to say about TBI.
Oh, thank you, Joy. She's my favorite product of these patches, I have to say, because she's the first one who made me realize, whoa, this is big. This is really big. So when we have a traumatic brain injury, it can affect us in so many different ways, just cognitively, how our memory is, our language. Physical, it can be coordination, it can be balance, it can be bowel. Sensory, it can be hearing, vision. And then you get into the emotional and the behavioral. And that's what I love about this product, is we're not just addressing the physical issue. We are getting to the root cause at the cellular level. And if you're dealing with those blue moods or those anxieties, this product can go and help your body find that homeostasis, that beautiful balance that we all seek. So I just wanted to give you some insight into your brain, because, we don't get to see the inside of that miracle machine very often, but this on the left is a healthy neuron at the top. You see how hydrated that is. You see how moist and supple. That is that way because of collagen. But as we age, and especially if we do not drink our water and we drink too much coffee and soda, and we aren't hydrating our body enough, those healthy neurons can dry up and look more like raisins. And we wonder, why don't I have the memories that I used to have, right? but it can be reasons too. It can be toxin. It can be a hit on the head, a concussion. There's all different reasons why a healthy neuron might become diseased. But this is a little diagram just to help you envision what that's like. So these slides here I borrowed from our friend Dr. John Harmon. He's written 2 amazing books on these patches, and he's a brain health expert. And he explains that EEG coherence is really a measure of the synchronization between the 2 sides of our brain. And when we have hypocoherence, that is called poor interaction between the 2 sides, the left and the right brain, which I just told you about, right? The creative and the analytical. But when we've got this hypocoherence, we can have a lot of different issues happening, and that can manifest as ADHD, brain fog, dementia, on the spectrum with autism. But here's some interesting information that every day we lose about 9,000 neurons, and that's starting at about age 30. And we are making new ones every day between 2,000 and 4,500, but there's a deficit and a big deficit. And then if you have other deficiencies, maybe diet or sleep, or you're not drinking enough water, then it can make things, more exacerbated. And I just wanted to show you real quickly here some comparatives of a normal brain versus a bipolar brain. So look at that bipolar brain. It has a lot of red. That's heat. That's inflammation. That shouldn't be there. That causes that person to have the issues they do behaviorally. This is contrasting a PTSD brain. You can see all those little inflammations sprinkled throughout that brain, whereas we really should only have the inflammation in one concentrated area. ADHD, you can see the difference there. A normal brain versus a depressed brain. So a normal brain, look at all the light in that brain. Light is very, very healing, uplifting. Don't we all feel so good when we're in that sunshine? Same is true when you're in darkness and that brain is lacking that light. How do you feel? You feel literally blue like that brain, right? So what we're going to talk about is a brain mapping study that David, you see a little picture of our genius owner and inventor up here in the corner. He did a study with a number of people looking at their brain health. So he took 12 healthy participants between the age of 50 and 80. He had them using that X39 patch for 12 hours on and 12 hours off. We're mimicking the circadian rhythm of day and night, right? They wore those patches for 6 weeks, and they put them either on the back of their neck or 3 inches below their belly button. And what they did is a heat mapping, EEG. And the first one I want to show you here is a 77-year-old woman. And session 1 is baseline for all of these people. They have not yet got the pleasure and privilege of wearing a patch. So she is dealing with a hot brain. All that red and orange should not be there. That is swelling in the brain. What happens when you swell and you have things that rely on blood flow? That blood flow slows down significantly, and you're not getting the regeneration in the nutrients and oxygen in the brain that you need. And that manifests as a lack of good coherence. But we look at session 2, that is the body after wearing X39 for 3 weeks. That's the first check-in. And we're looking down on that brain, by the way, from the top down. Now look at that hot brain becomes a cold brain. That's the body's brilliance, the way it's designed to find that balance. That is not a perfectly balanced brain yet, but the body's working on it. Come back in 6 weeks, session 3 here, the conclusion of that study, and look at that brain. Perfectly balanced, 80-20 on the brain there. And a huge change for this lady's life. This is a 67-year-old female. She's a manual therapist, I believe, maybe like cranial, sacral, and massage. Yeah, it does say it right there. But look at this poor lady. She is in holistic healthcare herself, but oh my goodness, her brain's on fire. She has got way too much inflammation. So 3 weeks in, it's way reduced. It's not right yet. But session 3, it is dramatically improved. That is just 6 weeks of wearing X39 on the body. And the next one here is a 67-year-old man. He put this below his belly button. You can see his heat, his inflammation in session 1, baseline. 3 weeks in, that's coming down some. But look at the difference by session 3. That is a big change. I know this guy's talking better, thinking better, remembering things. And this is kind of somebody, it's kind of interesting because everybody's unique. And I think these pictures help answer, when we hear people say, gosh, I don't think I'm noticing anything yet, like Michelle, gave her patches away. Everybody is in a different state. We can't tell you how long this is going to take. This person starts out with a cold brain, the opposite of everybody else you just saw, right? But you'd never know from looking at them on the outside. But session 2, the body is working on that, goes real cold. And I would think, uh-oh, maybe something's not working. But here's the thing, the body never fails. It knows. Session 3, look at that. It's dramatically changed. And the longer this person wears the patches, by session 3 on this person, I would say they have work to do. They are not done, but it's a process, right? That is what this is all about. Everyday little things like drinking water, putting on a patch consistently, they all add up. So I want to show you a few things. This is a lady that experienced a stroke. And again, we are not here diagnosing or treating. We are just here to educate and share. So educational purposes only. But look at this in 1 month of wearing X39. She had facial distortion. Her mouth wasn't working. She actually lost vision in an eye. But 1 month, all these things started resolving. The facial nerve problems, that actually resolved in 4 days. Her lower back pain went away, her knee pain, her joints, and so on and so forth. And she has better glowing skin. But here she is even earlier. You can see how dramatic. She actually had a case of Bell's palsy from her cognitive episode. And this lady over here, look at her poor eyes. They're rolling back in her head. She can't open one of them. And look at this, 5 weeks later, her brain rewired and it resolved itself. And this is our dear friend, Dr. Stacy's daughter. This poor little girl at age 4 had a vaccine injury. She spent the next 14 years in a wheelchair with her mom going back to get her doctorate to learn how to care for her daughter. And it was her #1 goal in life to bring this little girl back to normalcy. She did 14 years of many different types of stem cell injections. She traveled out of country. She said she spent over $100,000 on stem cell injections. But her little girl never had the kind of results from 14 months of wearing these very cost-effective patches. And you can see her baseline at 6 months. This is a changed girl. You can even see structural changes in her face, her mouth, her whole hands, arms. But after 14 months, she was actually able to communicate with her family for the first time. Pretty life-changing for that family. But again, I just want to reiterate that what we're talking about is a device, if you will, patch, that's just allowing the body a new tool that allows it back into balance or homeostasis. So the patches are helping to ward off whatever negative impacts maybe Mother Nature's dealt to us or diet, stress. It's working again, like Cami mentioned, the copper peptide is really the amazing things that help those stem cells to come back to life. And we've got the X39, X49 combination is beautiful. If you've got cognitive issues, this is a lovely combination. It's going to help speed up that blood flow, bringing more nutrients, more oxygen to the brain so it can repair. It also is helping that X49 is EMF protection. That can do a lot to brains these days. So if you're like me and you're on the phone too much, pop that little patch on and it will help ward off the negative effects of EMF. But the GHK on the brain is doing so much for nerve growth factor. That's a protein in the brain helping to create repair. And it's just doing a lot of great things to help the neural pathways regenerate, work the way they did when we were younger. It also works on accelerated regeneration of the nerve fibers. It is also upregulating our genes. And you might think, genes, what? We can change them? I never knew this, but we can. The patches have the ability. They are called gene whisperers. So in this patch, we are upregulating 408 and we're downregulating 230. And if you don't know what that means, it means if you were predisposed in your family, say everybody in our family always got Alzheimer's or, autism was present or ADHD, whatever this might be, it doesn't mean you have to go down that path. You can allow your body to help repair and rebalance itself with this tool. So the copper peptide, again, just a huge game changer in brain-derived neurotropic factor. It is very, very life-changing. So that's our number one favorite to help regenerate that brain, X39. We always pair with it, like we said earlier, Eon, that anti-inflammatory. It's also working on the autonomic nervous system. So it's taking us, if we're anxious, if we are not feeling right on spot, we might be dealing with that fight or flight mode that Mother Nature gave us for the jungle. If a cheetah might be chasing you, that comes in handy. But when you're, just want to be a mom and have a good life, you don't need that. That patch will help put you back into rest and digest and just calm you right down. So those are our two favorites for basic brain changes. And for 80% of the population, those two are a game changer. If those are not enough for what you're dealing with, or say you've got more complication, maybe it's the Parkinson's or the Alzheimer's aspect, here's another secret weapon. You have it in your body right now and you don't even know it, but the older you are, the less you have. It's called carnosine, and it is able to help change and detoxify aluminum out of the brain, the heart, the muscles, and gets the blood flow going. So carnosine, and here's David again talking about it, but what it really is doing is it's preventing the damage caused when sugars bind with protein. And for those of you who know that Alzheimer's has a very direct correlation with diabetes, they actually now call that the third level of diabetes. So if we can help prevent that sugar binding in the brain, or if we already have it, we can help get it out. That's a game changer for repairing and returning to a full and wonderful life. It can also help with that beta amyloid protein. That is the protein that we see in the Alzheimer. And I'm not saying that this is going to cure or change. I'm just telling you that this is a tool of something you had in your body when you were young and you didn't have all the cognitive issues usually. This can help bring that level back up of your own carnosine, and it is life-changing. My own father-in-law, we added all of those patches I just showed you, plus this one, glutathione. He was diagnosed with a rapid onset cognitive decline and lost his words and memories. And in 90 days, this combination brought his words back. And in 5 months, we got his memories back. And he was just at the company Christmas party with him the other night, and he's telling jokes and remembered people by name. It's pretty amazing. And that's how powerful this is. But glutathione you have in your liver, and it's doing so many good things to strengthen our immune system and opening those detox pathways. In 24 hours, by wearing this patch, your own glutathione is elevated 300%. And I found this talking about a glutathione deficiency. So there's really interesting things out here. But looking at, and I highlighted this blue box, we're talking tonight about the brain, but look at all of these that are related to low glutathione. So if we get that glutathione up, we open the pathways that carry toxins out, and we make a big impact on these issues. So next, I just want to quickly, we're down to just the last few minutes here, the gut-brain connection. We cannot underestimate the power of this. So whatever is in your gut is responsible to carry the nutrients and oxygen to your brain. But guess what? If you're living on Coca-Cola and maybe, chicken nuggets all day long, maybe that stuff isn't sending the right things to your brain. What we can do to help ensure our gut is regenerating and carrying the nutrients and able to absorb them is we can do a gut regeneration system. And you can do this for 18 days minimum, up to 90 days. And I tell people, depending on your age, 30 days is a nice gauge. Some people, younger people, do see a quicker result with less time, but the more time you give your body to regenerate, get out toxins, reduce inflammation, balance your endocrine system, and control blood sugar and cravings with this combination right here, it's a game changer. And I want to show you my bonus daughter, Angie. This was her last summer at our beach house with her emotional support kitty. And she was dealing with insomnia and anxiety, and she was not living her best life, and she was not looking her absolute best, and she was frustrated and she was very sick. She thought she had the flu. I had just learned about these 4 patches on the gut, and I said, hey, I have all of these here. Do you want to try them tomorrow? And let's see if maybe we can get you to at least stop throwing up the way you are. And lo and behold, we did. The very first day of wearing them, that stopped. At the end of 18 days, this middle picture is her. She lost 35 pounds. A lot of that being toxins that live in fat bubbles and inflammation, water weight, swelling. So by last Christmas, look at how beautiful she is. She's sleeping, she's calm, she's confident. By April, she'd lost 70 pounds. That is not a girl that does exercise or diets, I'll just tell you. So really a changed life there. So there's so many things you can do in addition to the patches. So I don't want to be just focused on patches only, but the patches are an amazing tool that can really help jumpstart your body and get you back on a better path to recovery, regeneration, and repair. But mental health, spend some time on you. Don't let it be about everybody else all the time. Take some time to just slow down, do a little meditation, yoga, maintain healthy habits, and the alcohol and the nicotine, tobaccos and stuff are just not great on our brain. Give yourself a little challenge, puzzles, work that brain. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? Give it a workout. Diet, whole foods, skip as much processed and sugar as you can, but stay in touch with your family, your people, your friends. Keep learning, get your sleep. 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night is really critical for brain health because in the middle of the night, between 1 and 4 a.m. is when our body is purging toxins and clearing out. Hydration. I cannot stress this enough. And if you really want to have the best hydration, do not use the bottled purified water like, say, Kirkland water. Don't buy the cheapest. Spend $1 more for a case and get Arrowhead. Get a stream-based water that still has minerals. And bonus points if you put lemon in your water, Celtic sea salt. You can even put the Celtic sea salt on your tongue and let it just absorb. But we've got some threats on the left here. Try and tone down those as much as you can. And then we've got our protectors here on the right. Blueberries, grapes, green leafy, and then supplements. But your extra bonus, exercise, reading a book, sleep, 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 super important. Here's, all of these great things are really good for your brain. And look at that, chocolate. Who says brain food can't be great? There's some really good things in that dark chocolate. So I would like to open it up and see if anybody has some questions I might be able to answer for you. Anybody have any questions? I'm going to stop this here. And if you'd like to put your questions in chat, we will make sure that we don't miss you. And while we have people, if you want to unmute yourself or raise your hand, let us know that you do have a question. I'm going to really quickly share my story. So these came to me, wow, when did I ever need these? Because I thought I had Alzheimer's. I was going through menopause and I had brain fog so bad, I couldn't find the words. And I ended up retiring from my job early. Thankfully, these came to me and very quickly, I started sleeping through the night. My hot flashes went away. My anxiety calmed right down. My words came back, and people at work were like, whoa, you're different. You're talking again. Whoa, and you're glowing. What are you doing? You look different. My hair stopped falling out too. I started getting thicker hair and so many good things. I started dreaming. And I was like, well, I'm wearing these little Band-Aid things, and I don't know. They say they help your brain, but man, I'm sure sleeping good. I don't know what it's doing for me. But Eric and I were still a little skeptical because it just sounded too good to be true. And I had never seen a PowerPoint like this. And that's why I put this together because I think a picture's worth 1,000 words and other stories too. But when my hairstylist at 6 weeks said, wow, what are you doing? Because all of the bald spots we've been moving my hair part around to hide, we're filling in with new forests of little baby hair trees. She was like, I've never seen anyone in 30 years of doing hair with this many hair starts. What are you doing? So, of course, I had to share. And I actually got to share that lady. I got her on a combination of these. She needed a pacemaker and she needed a defibrillator. And in about 6 weeks, her daughter called to tell me, guess what? My mom just came back from the doctor and they decided she doesn't need those things. I don't know. Was it the patches? Who will know? But pretty great. I think it was the patches. But any questions? Anybody out there you can help answer? Or is there anybody who's perhaps looking to get started? And would you like our help in customizing a kit for you? We love to do that.
I have a question.
Oh,
Hi.
yeah. Go ahead, Patty. Thanks for
Hi.
putting up your hand.
Yeah, I'm gonna just keep it simple, but
And we're having difficulty hearing you, so I don't know if you have the ability. I know you did
can
some
you hear
trick.
me? Can you hear me now?
Okay, that's a little better.
Okay. I I'm interested in the brain fog. I'm starting to have a little extra of that. So you're saying the water and sleeping helps, and
Yes.
but what patches would you add to
Okay.
that?
So for that, I would put X39 on the back of your neck in the daytime. That's a daytime patch because it's giving energy, it's fueling your cells. I don't sleep so well personally with it. Now, I've heard of a couple people that love it for nighttime, but most of us love it for day because it's an energetic patch. And so back of neck, the C7, that bumpy knob, I would put E on 2 inches below your belly button, pull that inflammation out of your body so your gut starts absorbing those nutrients to send more blood flow and oxygen up to the brain. And then at night, if you like dreaming, I love Alavita right here between my eyebrows. It's decalcifying the pineal gland and it puts me in a deep dream state. When we are in a deep dream state, that's when our body's purging toxins and regenerating and repairing. That combination is such a game changer for that. So I'd recommend you give that a shot. But everybody is different, not diagnosing or anything. I'm just making a recommendation.
I
And
So,
I have I just wanted to ask you this because it's always bothered me. I had given birth to several a few children. My muscles separated in the belly, and they never went back. And so the doctor recommended putting that together because no matter how thin I got, I said I had the belly bulge, and he says, "Well, let us put that back together for you." So I had surgery, and he removed my belly button connection. He said, so I don't know what that means, but
huh.
so I'm not. I don't know how that's going to help me with.
Well, I would just say when we say below the belly button, we're just giving you a gauge. Here's the cool thing about these patches. There's no wrong place to put them on your body. You
Okay,
have blood flow throughout your body. And
okay,
so as long as you put them on and they're not just sitting in a package on your desk, they're working.
okay. So
When
it
we
doesn't matter.
recommend spots, we are just recommending based on blood flow, but it doesn't mean they're not going to work if you don't put them there.
Okay,
So I would still just go ahead and put it on your stomach, even though you don't have that belly button situation. And in time, I think you're going to find your body knows how to fix whatever damages we might have had over the years. And
thank
I
you.
think you'll notice a difference. Yeah. Any other questions?
I have one more if no one else has a question.
Okay. I am.
I'm starting to have cataracts. So, have you heard of patches addressing cataracts?
I sure have. And that dog that Cammy showed you, do you remember seeing that dog? The
I
white frosty
do.
eye? That was a
Oh,
cataract eye. And that dog went blind with the diabetes and cataracts in his eyes. And you could see those brown pupils and the dog's vision came back, started
oh,
following my friend all over her house. And we both cried the day that happened. But the carnosine patch is a really great one. And I know Carmen had a great result with that with her nighttime driving. And I've heard from doctors, you can put it on the temple of the eye in question, or you can also put it above the eyebrow. But you probably don't walk around with that on your face during the day, so you might want to do that at night. Should you notice you're not sleeping well at night, because carnosine for some can give energy again. Some love it and sleep great with it. You could always put that on the back of your neck too. It does not necessarily have to be near the eye, but what we find with some of these patches, when we place them closer to our crisis point, the quicker result we get. But I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here.